and there was nothing in their hand to be busy about. Yet, my father and his brothers never lost hope, and they stood up and accepted the challenge. And in the very same government regime, in 18 months, they raised 6 new small factories to avoid further nationalization. Goodness Bank was their banker. They said, come to England, we will give you a lot of opportunities. My father said, no, I was born here and will die here. Now, what is the moral of the story? That wherever there's a will, there's a way. So we are facing these problems, these challenges, but I think global North has to appreciate that global South will survive, then they will survive, and vice versa. We have taken over the reign of the country again after 8th of February this year, and I am now determined, in terms of the example I've just given you, to put things in order. Easier said than done. For example, our power sector is in shambles. I'm being very honest with you. Power theft in a massive fashion, and elitist culture, doles out and hands out being given to those who don't deserve it. Our revenue sector in tatters. Of what we receive annually, we lose at least 4 times that amount through leakages. And unless we plug these loopholes, we'll never be able to recover from these devastating impacts out of actions of our own, nobody else's. Let me be very clear. And then there's also a problem of inflation and debt trap. I call it death trap. Now, all this put together is a big challenge. I have to acknowledge from the core of my heart the support we have been given and received from Saudi leadership. I think a friend in need is a friend indeed, and we will never be able to repay back to them what they've done to Pakistan in difficult times. My friend, under his watch, DFID has been outstandingly supporting Pakistan in education and health. But the point at issue is that we have to stand on our own feet. And I know this is possible, difficult, but not impossible. And how? That is the point at issue. We are now going for massive reforms, deep-rooted structural reforms. It'll hit me as Prime Minister. Obviously, I have to provide leadership by example, ladies and gentlemen. Without that, nothing will happen. And then, of course, we have to go for austerity, meaningful austerity, just not for publicity. And 3, we have a very young population. And this young population, which go into hundreds of millions of boys and girls, is a challenge, yet a great opportunity. So we have to provide them with modern tools and technologies, information technology, AI, and other vocational training, to provide them with opportunities to become self-earners, SMEs. And then here in Saudi Arabia, they should come here and open offices and contribute in nation-building efforts here. In Pakistan, promote our agriculture through modern techniques, and of course, providing the farmer with best seeds and fertilizer, and of course, modern tools. My dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's a humongous task. It's not an easy task. We have to go for higher exports. For that, we have to have opportunities made available to our exporters. We are a country. We don't have oil. We have gas, but it is on the lower trend, depleting. We have our biggest asset, natural resources, mines and minerals, fertile land, and of course, this youth, which is the biggest asset for Pakistan. And together, I'm not going into details over here, but before I came here, for example, in order to have deep-rooted structural changes, you have to separate black sheep from the white. And before I came here, for the first time in the history of Pakistan, after getting credible input from agencies, I made OSDs, those highest level officers who were not functioning, had a gray record, and I said, come what may, I will not accept any pressure. I will move forward with a sense of purpose, with a sense of achievement, and make Pakistan find its place in community of nations through hard work and untiring efforts.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. I think you heard on the applause that was very well received. I'm moving now to Anna Marks, a global chair of Deloitte. I think what we also have heard during these 2 days, and I know you, Anna, have been in many of the sessions too, is that we need more collaboration. If we work against each other, it's not productive. And you're seeing this in business context all the time. How can we collaborate better to meet the targets we have set, being sustainability, being inclusion? So I know you have some thoughts on this.
Well, thank you.
And your mic.
I think I would know after watching the previous two speakers and after dealing with remote working for quite some time during the pandemic. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the World Economic Forum and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for convening and hosting this special meeting. It has been a fantastic couple of days, and it has been inspiring to hear the openness, the enthusiasm, the acknowledgement, the optimism, despite the complexities, some of which we've heard just now. And you talk about collaboration and how is collaboration important, particularly when we look at inclusive growth, sustainable growth, growth that means that we can grow in a way that's fair and proportionate across societies, across geographies. And we can't do that without collaboration. And if we just pause on what we mean by collaboration, because actually these meetings are a great forum for debate and discussion and to start to collaborate. But that's very, very different from cooperation. And we hear about cooperation, but really all that is about assigning each other different tasks, working alongside each other, and ensuring that what I do doesn't disrupt what you do. Collaboration is different. Collaboration is convening and creating a common goal, a common vision, and building the activities together and executing those activities together to reach that goal. And that's true collaboration. And given the complexities we're facing globally right now, much of which has been debated and discussed over the last couple of days, it's very easy to see and to feel that there's an increase in invisible and visible barriers to collaboration. And I'd encourage us all to look for where we can collaborate, because without collaborating, we can't achieve our goals of truly inclusive growth. And maybe if I just give one example to bring it to life. If we think about the sustainability aspect, you mentioned sustainability, and we talk about the importance of sustainable aviation fuel. Sustainable aviation fuel could have a significant impact on our ambitions around carbon emission reduction. And the International Air Transport Association talks about sustainable aviation fuel probably contributing around 65% or so of the solution to achieve the net zero goals set out for 2050. It's that important. But it's nascent, it's expensive, it's going to take time to produce the production facilities, the raw materials. If we allow this to continue, and if we operate in silos, we won't achieve what we need to achieve, which is to accelerate and to achieve those goals for net zero ambitions. So what we need is collaboration. We need the agricultural waste producers to think about alternative sources of raw material. We need the jet fuel producers to be aligned with that and think about repurposing and building the production capability and processes. We need the transportation sector to think about how do we transport, what are the logistics that are required around that, complying with regulation and so on. We also need airlines to lean into that. We also need policymakers to ensure that all parties can play their part and that they're incentivized to do so in the right way. We need the funding mechanisms to do it. We need the consumer activity. We need actually associations, trade associations to play their part. The ecosystem goes on. So we need true collaboration in order to build the sustainable aviation fuel that we need to help achieve that net zero goal. So that's just one example. If we're going to get to inclusive growth, it's not about cooperation, it's real collaboration across the ecosystem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is a perfect segue over to you, Minister. Faisal, we had a big contraction of the global economies during COVID. We'll come back to that with Stefan. But no, many countries are back at pre-COVID levels, most countries. And we see that growth is back, not as high as it used to be, but growth is back. How do you, from the Kingdom's side, see the projection now for the coming year? The Kingdom's economy is doing pretty well and has also diversified. 50% of your GDP is now already non-oil related. So how do you look at global economic outlook?
So, thank you, Borge. I believe we view the global economy evolving, but still stuck in a low growth, I'd say, phase, and it's unevenly distributed. If you look, for example, at IMF's recent projection, they've been increased to 3.2, but if you double click on that, you'll see that advanced economies are between 1.6, 1.8% for the coming year, and the US stands out a little bit at 2.7%. If you look at emerging economies, they're a bit higher at 4.2%, driven mainly by India, but also the Middle East and Central Asia. India at 6.5, Middle East, Central Asia at around 4.5% and more. So that's not the growth numbers that we want to continue with. We want to see more global economic growth, and that's why we're convening here. One of the themes is growth, and by that we mean inclusive growth, and how do we get there? We believe there's two things we need to focus on. One, productivity. Productivity has been going down since the global financial crisis at 1%, especially in advanced economies, at 1 percentage point per year. Maybe the US has seen an upward trend recently, but that's still the story. In emerging economies, there are two groups. There's the fast lane, as some experts call it, and the slow lane. The fast lane represents around 3.6 billion people. If they continue at that growth level, they would reach advanced economies level within 25 years, but you're still leaving out 1.4 billion